Hello viewers, welcome to the Indian Lawyer Legal Tips. This is Srikanth Raheja. Today I am going to be your host. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic. It will be very useful for all the business people, all the professionals, and it's going to be very interesting topic, especially for the startups who are working in the startup world. So stay tuned, and we have a very interesting person and a very good expert who gonna be discuss these topics and the how this business works. Every day you will be listening how the many companies are merging, like X companies merging with Y companies, and A companies taking over like B companies. So today we'll understand how these things works in the business world. So without any delay, I'm going to introduce our expert of the today. So Ms. Sushila Varma, the founder and the CEO of the Indian Lawyers. So welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Shekhar.
So we are having this topic, like we are discussing this topic for many days.
Yes, we have.
So as a business person, I have many doubts. As I'm into the startup world, I have seen every day some X companies merging with Y companies, some A companies taking over some B companies and all. So, ma'am, what is this merging and acquisition? How these things works?
Now, mergers and acquisition is a term, a legal term, which actually means a strategy that is followed in the corporate world in which one company takes over another company. So it could be a larger company taking over a smaller company, or it could be companies of equal strength but they are merging together in order to get a larger market share. Now, what happens is invariably when you are in the business world, you are obviously looking for the market. Now, if you're a new company, you cannot get the market access so quickly. So the best way to do it is merge or acquire a company that is already in the market and that already has a share. And if that company is acquired, then you just have to piggyback, right? And from point, say, B, you have to take it to point C. Whereas if you were to enter directly, you have to take it from point A to point C, which means a lot of time, a lot of effort, and also a lot of innovations will be required. So the best way to do things in the business world is by merging or acquiring. In short, it is known as M&A. Now, what happens is when you merge or acquire a company, you gain access to new markets, you acquire certain innovative technologies, and most importantly, you capture the market. I agree. In fact, when foreign companies come to India, this is a strategy they will always follow. They will give an offer to an Indian company because by giving an offer to an Indian company, certain things are already taken care of. You know the market, you know the customer, you know the product, you know how far you can go, you know what you can sell, you know what the price is. Now, all you have to do is scale it up. So that is the reason a merger or an acquisition makes a lot of sense in the business world.
So, ma'am, what are the main objectives when these companies merge or acquire these things?
Now, an acquisition involves one company purchasing another, either the assets and the liabilities, or acquiring a majority stake in the equity of the existing company. Now, like I said, there is always a strategic reason for acquiring. Now, it's the same as what happens in a merger. That is, you enter a new market, you are gaining access to a new technology or a proprietary technology. It's a possibility that the technology that is there with a existing company might be a proprietorship, a proprietary technology. They might have a patent for it, or they might have some. It might be a trade secret. Then apart from that, you also eliminate a competitor. If you take over, so you don't, suppose you have 4 competitors, you've taken over one. So at least now you only have 3.
Yes.
Apart from getting the other advantages, you also have one enemy less in the market.
That's an interesting strategy. It's like it's not
Yes.
like divide and rule like kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So acquire and rule.
Yes.
Not divide and rule, acquire and rule.
Absolutely. And the Indian market is the dream of any businessman. We have 1.4 billion people. We have such a huge market. We have so much of demand. And right now, we have a very big, I would say, a very big young market, so to say,
Yes, obviously.
who are interested in so many new things.
So, ma'am, I would want to know like what are the main objectives were involved when these merging and acquisitions were involved?
Well, I think the main objective of any M&A is to expand business capabilities. So suppose I have A plus B skill and you have C and D. So if we acquire or merge, we will have A, B, C, D skills.
Yeah.
That makes us a better company. We will be in a better position to understand the market.
Yes.
Then it helps you to enter new markets. Like AB may be focusing in North India,
Yes.
CD may be focusing in South India. But if you merge, what happens? You enter into a much larger and a bigger market. Okay. Then obviously you will also increase your market share. Why? Because you have North India and you have South India.
Obviously, so that
And
makes
then-
sense when we are
yes.
involved in the
And
business.
when you are working together, you're able to achieve cost reductions because of the synergy. That's the reason why you have all these big mergers and acquisitions. Take an example. If you have to advertise for a particular business and your competitor also has to advertise for a particular business, if both of you join hands, the advertisement cost will be reduced because you are synergizing,
Yes.
right? So there is also going to be an operational efficiency. Instead of your targeting a particular area, you can now target a much larger area because one competitor is less.
Yeah.
You have synergized, so your costs have come down, your capabilities have increased, and therefore you can increase your market share.
That makes sense how these companies are working.
Yes.
So, ma'am, when it comes to the legal things, what is the steps involved when the company wants to take over or merge with the other company?
Yes. That's a very important question. Now, see, what happens is if you have a company and I have a company, I might be giving a lot of representations that I do this, I do that, I do that. You will also be saying the same things. Now, how do we get to the truth of the matter? The truth of the matter can be done only by doing a due diligence. So, a due diligence is a deep investigation into the affairs of a company. Now, if there is a M&A, the first legal requirement is you must go for a due diligence. So what will happen is the buyer must have a clear picture of what he's acquiring. You might say, I have ABC assets, but it's not necessary that your ABC assets are all clear.
Yes.
I mean, there might be bank mortgages or charges, it might be hypothecated to some bank, or there might be some litigation involved. So how would you know whether the assets, how will I know whether the assets you have is really there or not? Apart from that, you can also ensure that what the seller or what the company that is going to get merged says to you is correct or not. So you will be, that's why I'm saying it's a deep investigation. Due diligence is a deep investigation. Then once you know what the other company has, obviously you are in a better position to structure the deal. You know that this is the strength of the company, this is the weakness of the company. So you have an upper hand. And obviously you will then decide that I'm going to structure the deal in such a way that I will be able to get much more out of it, right? Then apart from that, you will also have to ensure that you know what are the risks and the liabilities that the company has. They may say, oh, we are doing very well. There is nothing to worry, which is what every salesman will say.
Yeah, that's
I mean, the CEO of a company is also a salesman at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So he will make it sound very hunky-dory and oh, we have a lot of this, we have a lot of that. But when you do a due diligence, you get to know what are the potential risks and whether the risks are such that you can actually overcome them. There are times you may not be able to overcome the risks that are involved. So what this due diligence helps you to do is it helps you to make an informed consent. Informed consent under the law means that you had the knowledge and after having the knowledge you decided that you will do something. So this is one of another feature of the due diligence. And in my opinion, if you are able to see what are the high points or what are the strengths of a company that you're acquiring, you are in a better position to plan for the future.
Ma'am, what are the factors involved in this due diligence and all?
Now see, when we say due diligence or rather an investigation, it is not just one due diligence, it's not just legal. First you have something called a financial due diligence. This would mean that you review the financials of the target company. When I say target company, I mean the company that you're going to acquire. So you will see the cash flows, the liabilities, the profit margins, the tax records. All this can be done in a financial due diligence. Then you have a legal due diligence. Now the legal due diligence helps you to examine the contracts that the existing or the target company has, the licenses, the intellectual property rights, the litigation history, whether there are any arbitrations, whether there are any risks involved in such big time arbitrations, whether there is any crucial or I would say big risk, legal risk in taking over the liabilities. Okay. Then you have another type of due diligence, which is the third due diligence. It's called the operational due diligence. Now in this, what do? You investigate and assess the target company's business operations. That is, you will understand what is the process they have, what is the supply chain they have, what is the quality control measures they use, what is the goal that has to be identified for operational efficiency, and what are the possible potential synergies that you can achieve if you take over the company. So this is the third kind. Now there is a fourth kind, it's called a commercial due diligence. Now this means that you will be able to focus on the target company's market shares or market trends, or what is the competitive landscape that you're entering into a new market. You don't know what the customer base is, you do not know what the growth potential is. So it helps you, the commercial due diligence helps you to assess the long-term goals that you will have in entering a market.
So it's like doing a market research.
Absolutely. Then you have something called a human resource due diligence or an HR due diligence. In this kind of due diligence, you will look at the target company's organizational structure, what are the employee contracts that you have, what are the compensation and benefits that you have to pay, what are the dues that the HR had to pay, the HR department had to pay and has failed to do it. So basically you identify all potential problem areas, because HR means you're employing people. So there could be problem areas. You could find out that there is one particular worker who is very powerful and you can control the entire workforce.
Obviously, yeah.
So, that kind of thing. Then another thing that has become very important is the environmental due diligence. Now, what happens in this? Today, the environmental laws in India have become very strict.
Yeah.
So, you are able to assess the risk and the liabilities on compliance issues of the target company. So, what you will be able to do is you will be able to get an assessment of what are the environmental issues that are involved and how are you going to get over it.
What are the types of mergers and acquisitions, and what are the different kinds of businesses will be having this kind of different, how these will be having?
Yes, so there is something called a horizontal merger. In this, two companies operating in the same market, they join hands to dominate the market share. That's what is known as a horizontal merger. Then you have a vertical merger, in which two companies working for the same type of company but at different stages merge together in order to make their business easier. That is, one could be producing, say a wash basin,
Okay.
and the other could be producing taps. So they are in the same line. They decide we'll go get together.
Okay. It's like same target audience.
Same target audience, same line of business. So it's basically, what is it? It's sanitary ware and plumbing.
Yeah.
So these are going hand in hand. So it's the same. Then you have something called a co-generic merger. In a co-generic merger, the acquirer and the target market have different products or services, but they operate within the same market area. For instance, what is the example that I could quickly give you? Like maybe one person would be selling CDs and the other pen drives.
Sure.
They are operating in the same market. Their products are different.
Yes.
Same market, but more or less it's a similar distribution channel. So they get together because they are able to increase their market share. Then you have what is called a conglomerate merger. In this kind of merger, two companies whose business activities and industry may be completely different will get together and operate under a common banner only in order to expand their market. Ultimately, it's all business. Everybody
Obviously.
wants to expand the market.
Obviously.
Then you have what is known as a product extension market. In this also, a market extension merger occurs when two companies in the same industry join forces with the aim again expand the market. So everywhere it is always expansion of the market. And finally you have something called a statutory merger. In that the laws of the buy side and the sell side for different states of formation must be followed. So they feel that let us merge together so it becomes easier for us to conduct our business. And then I think then finally you have what is called a triangular merger, when there is an acquiring company, that is the parent company, a target company and a subsidiary acquiring company. So basically there are three types of companies. Usually the subsidiary is newly created, whereas the parent and the target company are old companies. The main reason for conducting these triangular mergers is so that the parent company can acquire the target without assuming its liabilities.
For the businesses, is it like important? Does it have a very important role, or else for the? Is it like compulsory for this merging or acquisition?
Not necessarily, but mergers and acquisition have become a very integral part of today's economic landscape. Like I explained, ultimately everything boils down to the business or market share. So what happens is when companies want to expand or enhance their capabilities or achieve certain strategic goals, or they want to increase their assets, or they want to share their liabilities, then an M&A is the best way to do it. Because you continue to exist, but you also get many more things which will help you to become operationally more efficient. So I think that is the reason why today M&A is a very important type of business module. Now, when you merge or you acquire another company, you can achieve cost savings as well as operational efficiencies. I will give you one very important example. In 2020, AT&T, which is a major player in US telecom, they decided to acquire Time Warner, a media conglomerate with the assets which included HBO and Warner Brothers. Now, the idea of acquiring was only because they wanted to compete with the existing streaming giants, which was Netflix and Disney. So when they got together, they had HBO, they had Warner Brothers, they felt that they would effectively compete with these giants. So that was the idea. Now, like I said earlier, Shrikant, everything boils down to market reach. Because when you have market reach, you make money, and when you make money, there is profits.
Obviously, yeah.
Okay. Also, I would say that when you merge or you acquire a company, you definitely enhance your competitive edge. When you become a bigger entity, you can definitely do bigger and better business. For instance, the acquisition of LinkedIn by Microsoft in 2016.
Yeah.
This was also a very big acquisition which happened because of the services.
Yes.
And Microsoft had cloud-based services, and they integrated LinkedIn's extensive professional work and the productivity tools, and together they were able to synergize their strengths and get into very good business solutions.
So, ma'am, does merging or acquiring does it improve these operational things and or
Definitely, because what happens is, now suppose I give an example of airlines. Now, suppose two airlines, like for instance United Airlines and Continental Airlines, they merged together in 2010. The reason was because they would have a larger fleet, they would have a larger network, they would have a larger area of operation, and ultimately, what does that boil down to? It boils down to larger profit.
Obviously.
So that was the idea.
So we can cut down the unnecessary costings,
Yes.
unnecessary manpower. So we can
Yes.
decrease the skill,
The cost
of all the
you
things.
can reduce the cost, and ultimately you gain much. I would say the benefits are much more when you join hands. It's like you become much, like even physically when
Obviously.
we join hands, there's a strength, right?
Obviously.
So taking that as an example, if two companies join hands, obviously they will reduce their cost, increase their efficiency,
Obviously.
and they will be able to capture.
So can you say me what are the major some mergers or acquisitions happened in very recent time?
Yes, I would say in 2019, one of the most important mergers that took place was between Disney and 21st Century Fox, which was completed in 2019.
Yeah.
The idea was that this M&A would have a great impact on the media and entertainment industry, and it would reshape the competitive landscape, and which is exactly what happened. Now, take another example, Air India. Air India was a government-operated entity.
Yeah.
They tried their level best. It actually began as JRD Tata's dream.
Yeah.
But then the government took over. Then the government, with all its inabilities, was not able to make it a successful airline. Then in 2017, again, they decided no, we need to be taken over by private bodies. So ultimately, the entire deal finalized in 2022 when the Tata Group emerged as the successful bidder, and they were able to take over Air India for 18,000 crores. Let me give you a very interesting example of the startup Zomato. Everybody knows Zomato.
Obviously.
Today, I don't think there is a single person who will not have the Zomato app on his phone. Now, Zomato was the lead player in Q-commerce, as you call it, quick commerce, right? So they decided that they also wanted to get into the grocery area. So they decided to merge with Blinkit, and which was formerly Grofers.
Yes.
And now this significant development is amazing because today people like me, I don't even think of going to a supermarket. All I do is Blinkit. Anything I need, Blinkit. So I would say this is one of the most important recent Indian examples, and I would say it's extremely successful because all the people I know are using Zomato, all the people I know are using Blinkit.
Why did they take over the Blinkit? It's like rather than starting a new entity.
Because Grofers already had a market share, right? They already had customers, they were already delivering goods to a lot of customers.
Yes.
So wouldn't it have been easier for them just to take over an existing company?
Yeah.
Otherwise, imagine starting from point A to reach point D. Now they've taken over from point B, they will reach point D faster, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. That makes sense actually.
Absolutely.
It's like they're decreasing their time and all the things.
Absolutely.
Their effort.
They're growing from a different level.
Obviously.
If they grew from point A and they had to reach D, it would take a lot of time. But from B, which means to reach point B, there are certain operational efficiencies you require, certain investments you require, certain market share you require. So all that is already taken care of. Now from here, the economies of scale start and they will get a larger market and a better market.
Obviously. It's like we are not starting from the scratch.
Yes.
It's like ready to...
We are starting midway.
Midway, it's like it's ready to serve. So ma'am, I mean we have heard like these are many major companies like they hold a very major role, they play a very major role in the business world. So what about like small startups? So does it MA works for the startups or else is it does this business model is important?
No, absolutely. It's not only for big companies. It is also for startups because I'll tell you, ultimately, like I said earlier, everything revolves around the market entry.
Yes.
Now, if there are two startups and both of them are targeting the same market, but one is giving product A and the other is giving product B, and both are intermingled or they are connected, then why don't they get together to increase the market share? That is what Zomato and Blinkit have done. Zomato was into providing food from restaurants.
Yes.
Blinkit was providing groceries. Yes. Both were startups. They got together. So today they are probably the largest in the Q-commerce sector.
Yes.
So I personally feel that startups who are always short of money should definitely join hands. If there is startup A and startup B and they have the same lines and more or less in the same line, they should join hands and increase the market share. It also increases the efficiency.
Obviously, it's
because
like
they'll have more. Yes, they'll have more people and they will have more intellectual ideas. Yes. They will be able to have more finances. So I think it doesn't have anything to do with big company or small company. You should go for M&A model whenever you are able to get what you want.
That really makes sense. Then I think I personally need to go for the M&A.
Yes, I would also suggest that in your line, since you have so many big business plans, it's a good idea.
Definitely. I'll definitely come to you for the services.
Absolutely.
So ma'am, apart from the startup or else big business MNCs or all, so this M&A works for both the things. So it's like how you use this sword.
Absolutely. I agree. And the Zomato Blinkit merger is probably the best example of high growth in a startup. So it's not necessary, dear viewers, that you have to be running a big company in order to have an M&A. M&A is basically a corporate planning that is done to secure a larger part of the market, to become more efficient, and also to enable you to grow much faster, because you don't have to start from point A, you can start from point B or point C and reach your ultimate goals.
That's definitely makes sense.
Yes.
So, ma'am, is there any conclusion you want to give, especially for the young entrepreneurs and the startups?
I would say, see, today India is known for startups, right? Across the globe, we have a lot of issues, but India is known for its startup culture. And the fact that you have so many bright minds, they may not have the money, but they have the brain.
Yes.
And they're able to think of very good ideas.
Yes.
So I personally feel that there is no harm if 2-3 companies that have been started by these which are startups get together and they scale.
They can work together.
They scale their operations and they scale their market. Yes.
Makes a really sense. We definitely make it.
Yes, yes, and then of course, if you are able to scale the market, tomorrow you will be hitting the IPO, and then somebody will, then some giant will come and acquire you.
Obviously.
So that's the important
Makes sense
thing.
actually.
So
And definitely I need to try this one.
definitely you try it and see how it.
Or definitely it gonna works for me. Especially I'm into service-based businesses, most of the things. Or these things definitely works for me rather than it's like there is nothing to lose for us.
No, even for us, see, I'm a professional in the legal field.
Yeah.
But I know that people who come to me are looking for chartered accountant, a tax advisor, a business consultant.
Yes.
So what we have done is we've joined hands with other professionals. So when today somebody comes to the Indian Law and Allied Services, especially a foreign client,
Yeah.
we are able to give all the services under one name. And the client is also relieved. He doesn't have to run to a tax consultant, he doesn't have to go to an accounting firm.
Yeah.
Everything can be done under one.
It makes sense. It's like rather than approaching different agencies,
Yes.
different companies who provide different services, so we can go with a single point for all the solutions.
Absolutely. Like for instance, in your field, you could
Yeah.
be doing the shooting of small films and
Yeah.
podcasts and programs, and then at the same time,
Yes,
you
makes
could
sense.
also look at advertising
Yes.
for the same customer.
Yeah.
Then you could look at helping them to get a larger market outreach in the
Yes.
the internet world.
Yeah.
So these things are all interconnected.
Makes sense actually.
Yes.
We definitely
Yes,
try
yes.
this for my business. So, ma'am, thank you for the information. It's like it really helped us. I hope the viewers got a very good knowledge about the merging and acquisitions, especially startups. Try this. Like many startups doesn't understand how the proper business world works. Everyone thinks like okay, merging or acquisitions is like diluting our companies or else polluting our companies.
No, not necessary. It's like a marriage.
It's like a marriage.
You get married, you bring something good into the marriage, the
Obviously.
other side also brings something good.
It's like a political marriage maybe.
No, if you are able to share your resources and
Yeah.
be like a happily married couple, you will always be
I'm not
successful. Is that an advertisement for a prospective bride? Okay.
Oh, definitely. But in the business world, I will definitely get married with other companies. It's like merging with other companies.
So I.
Sure, thank you so much. It's like we got a really happy for the information actually. It's like I'll definitely keep these inputs in my businesses also. Thank you for the information and thank you for the inputs. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the
Yes.
audience.
So, dear audience, today on the request of Shrikant Raheja, we did an M&A video. It's a very large topic, but we have kind of shortened it. And we feel that startups should seriously consider an M&A because this is the way to grow. This is the way businesses grow today. And I personally feel that if you start merging with other companies and going ahead, of course your mindset has to work, then a day is not very far when you will be acquired by a really big giant. So that is your ultimate dream, that you go for IPO and then you want to be acquired, make huge money and then not retire but start something new. So if you have found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe. If you want to watch further videos, please press on the bell icon and you will be notified next week. A small word of caution, what we have discussed now, the mergers and acquisition, is only a very sketchy part of what really happens in an M&A. So you will have to take this as a legal tip. If you decide to go for an M&A, please consult with a lawyer. We are not giving legal advice, we are only giving legal tips. Thank you and have a good evening.